Madame la présidente de la région Île-de-France, chère Valérie, Monsieur le président, cher Augustin de Romanet, Monsieur le toujours encore président, cher Gérard, il y a 3 défis que je crois extraordinairement difficiles à relever. Le premier défi, c'est de gagner la Coupe du monde de football. Le deuxième défi, c'est de réconcilier la France et la finance. Et le troisième défi, c'est de faire un discours devant 850 personnes qui n'attendent qu'une chose, c'est de déjeuner. Donc je vais laisser l'équipe de France remplir le premier défi, et je suis sûr qu'elles vont y arriver. Je vais laisser Gérard Mestralet et désormais Augustin de Romanet remplir le deuxième défi de réconcilier la France et la finance, et je vais essayer de m'occuper du troisième. Je voudrais commencer pas discours, intervention, je vous rassure, en remerciant chaleureusement Gérard Mestralet, toutes ses équipes, du travail exceptionnel qu'ils ont fait. Si nous en sommes là aujourd'hui, si Dream is becoming true, et si la place de Paris est en train de devenir une des premières places financières européennes et mondiales, c'est d'abord grâce à Gérard Mestralet et à ses équipes. Merci Gérard pour le travail que tu as fait. Et je voudrais dire à mon ami Augustin de Romanet que je suis heureux qu'il ait accepté de prendre la succession de Gérard. C'est une tâche difficile. C'est un défi considérable, mais je suis persuadé que nous allons y arriver pour une raison qui est simple. C'est que nous sommes rassemblés et nous sommes déterminés. Nous sommes rassemblés avec la région Île-de-France et merci, chère Valérie, pour le travail que tu fais à nos côtés pour nous permettre de faire de Paris cette grande place financière qu'elle doit être. Nous sommes rassemblés, évidemment, avec le gouvernement, derrière le Premier ministre et le Président de la République pour remplir ce défi. Et nous sommes rassemblés avec tous les acteurs financiers qui sont présents dans cette salle et que je remercie de leur présence. Oui, Paris sera demain la première place financière en Europe. Please allow me now to switch to English to reflect the international audience present today and to explain to you why I'm deeply convinced that Paris will be and is still one of the most important financial places in Europe. The first reason why is that there is no denying that France has changed since this time last year and since the election of Emmanuel Macron as the French president. We have had to prove that we don't just talk the talk about reforms. We are capable of doing them. We are delivering the reforms. What are we doing? Our policy agenda is based around 5 priorities. The first one is that we are simplifying the legal framework to make businesses more flexible and more resilient to economic changes. Second, we are encouraging greater investment thanks to reduced corporate and capital taxation. And I would like really to underline that the taxation reform that we have decided at the end of last year is a total overhaul of the French taxation system. Third, we are focusing on human capital by improving training and education. And fourth, we are investing in future industries. We are betting on the environment and new technologies such as artificial intelligence. And finally, we are also tackling balance in our public finances. We are committed to reducing public debt by at least 5% by 2022. After a year in government, we have nothing to be ashamed of. On the contrary. First, growth is back. A 2.3 growth rate in 2017, and we should be around 2% in 2018. Thousands of jobs have been created. We have reduced our public deficit for the first time in 10 years below the 3% threshold. And we have experienced the sharpest increase in foreign investment projects in Europe. So we can be proud of year one of this presidency, and my deep conviction, and that we will be prouder of year two of this presidency. We know that we still have a long way to go. So we will pursue our reforms with exactly the same determination. Our SMEs struggle to grow at the same pace as their European competitors. Yet SMEs are the companies which create the most jobs, which drive innovation, and have the audacity to conquer new markets. That's why we recently launched an ambitious reform plan to transform the business environment at the level of each individual company. The action plan for growth and the transformation of the business environment, the so-called PACT, includes measures for each stage of the life cycle of business. This includes, first, obligations related to workforce thresholds, which will be considerably lightened and simplified. Second, we are cutting red tape once again. We are creating an online platform for firms' paperwork, which will replace 7 existing networks with one online platform. Third, the timing and costs of bankruptcy procedures will be reduced and the predictability of outcomes improved, thus allowing entrepreneurs to bounce back and benefit from a real second chance. Fourth, we are establishing a 10 billion euro disruptive innovation fund thanks to the sale of state-owned assets in Paris Airport, Française des Jeux, and Engie. And fifth, we need to channel more household savings into profitable investments that will boost the economy. We are reforming retirement saving plans and life insurance schemes to increase the number of people who invest in such plans. We also want to increase private companies and especially SMEs equity financing. PACT will facilitate access to diversified funding with simpler rules to implement IPOs, capital investments, and crowdfunding. We will also introduce a groundbreaking regime for ICOs, which has no equivalent in Europe. In this transformation of the French economy, the financial sector has a vital role to play. That's why we need an even stronger financial services sector in France. I mean, banks, insurers, fund managers, all of you that finance our economy. To conclude, I would like to give you a wider perspective on the European and the world economy. We are at a crossroads. Life cannot go on as before. We are faced with threats to the European project itself and nationalist movements on the rise across Europe. We cannot allow the world's future to be decided for us by China and the United States. We want, the European people, to shape our own future with our own values, our own interests, our own rules. The EU has to change and to respond to this new world. It's clear that either we transform the EU or we will end up being simple spectators of a new global economic world order. It's now or never to transform the Eurozone into a genuine economic union, A strong monetary union underpins solid growth. We are in a much better place than 10 years ago, but we are still a long way from an optimal monetary union. That's why I have spent days and nights in recent months negotiating with my German counterpart and friend Olaf Scholz. Together, we agreed on a roadmap for Eurozone reform, and this roadmap was endorsed by Chancellor Merkel and President Macron. It identifies three main priorities areas for the future of the Eurozone. First, we need to complete the banking union. Second, we must strengthen the European Stability Mechanism so that it becomes an effective crisis management tool. And third, we wish to create a Eurozone budget that will finance public investments in innovation, thus promoting economic convergence and stabilization in the euro area. The second challenge is to ensure a smooth and fair Brexit. It is positive that we now have a more detailed position from the UK about its objectives. Time is running out, and the ongoing uncertainty is no good for anyone, in particular for business. We will study carefully the white paper, which we hope will be published quickly. We want an agreement with the UK. But let's be clear, this agreement has to fully respect the EU's integrity and rules. On financial services, we believe the only way forward, which will allow appropriate access to financial services markets, is one based on reviewed and improved equivalence mechanisms. This will preserve financial stability, the integrity of the single market, and the autonomy of decision-making in the EU. The third challenge, after the Brexit and the reinforcement of the Eurozone, and maybe the hardest, is to build a new global order that is fairer and more effective. Multilateralism, as we know, is being called into question. In a few years, China has become the second economic world power, and the USA has become unpredictable. In the face of such changes, the EU cannot be powerless. But the fact is that today, we don't have the tools to assert our economic sovereignty, and we need to build those tools. We need to build European industrial champions that can be global leaders in every field. We need to ensure we are capable of developing and owning the technologies of the future, not depending on the technologies coming from China or from the United States. There are some fantastic existing examples, such as the recent merger of Alstom and Siemens. There are fantastic projects, including in the field of artificial intelligence, like the one proposed this morning by Peter Altmaier. In the area of batteries, Europe must be able to build the next generation of batteries. We also need to assert our economic sovereignty in the area of trade. Just as Brexit, a trade war will have a negative impact on growth. The trade war has already started. We now have to avoid it escalating. That remains in the hands of the United States and of Donald Trump. We agree there are underlying issues that need to be tackled, such as overcapacities in steel and aluminium, such as subsidies, such as intellectual property. But attacking your allies and breaking international law is not the right way to go about it. In this context, France and the EU will not stay silent. We have to protect ourselves. We will remain united. Nobody will divide France and Germany. Nobody will divide the European nations. We will react proportionately, sensibly, but firmly. This is true for the trade in goods. It is also true for financial services. We are facing uncertain times. The foundations of the world economic order we have known for decades are being shaken to their core. The temptation to look away and try to cut out the external world is strong in France and everywhere in Europe. But that would not be the right answer. Europe is at a crossroads. If we are confident in ourselves, if we stick together and live up to the challenges we face, we can be the continent of economic growth, of human rights, and a rule of law, and peace. This is the commitment taken by Emmanuel Macron during his campaign. Together with the French president, with our majority and with the government, we will fulfill that commitment. I thank you.